Hello, I'm Kaylee Thomas, Senior Marketing Manager here at KORE, ready for another quickfire interview with Anne Hoyer, IoT Business Development Lead at Sony's IoT Tracking Division. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just jump straight in. The cold chain monitoring market is growing rapidly, thanks to demand of temperature-sensitive pharmaceuticals, better food quality with less waste, and increased government focus on medical supply chain efficiency. Now, for those of us who haven't heard of this term cold chain, can you explain a bit more about what it is and where IoT fits into all of this?
Yeah, certainly, Kelly. So cold chain is essentially a low temperature control supply chain. Usually this is, as you correctly mentioned, used in food and pharmaceutical logistics. So it's quite a simple term where you transport goods that are perishable or need to be stored in a very specific temperature, and you need to monitor this. And obviously, sometimes you need to even be able to prove that you've been storing and transporting this correctly. So temperature control logistics have been important for a long time, but now with the distribution of COVID vaccines, transportation goods under these correct conditions have been very high on the agenda. And I think especially it's been broadening out. So it's not just the COVID vaccines or in pharmaceuticals. We're starting to think about how our goods are being transported, and it's kind of having a drip down effect into handling of food as well, which is obviously good for all of us. Now, cold chain as a concept has obviously been around longer than the active use of IoT. But having access to this newer technology and the data that it provides, we open doors to real-time insights into how these goods are being transported. So this is what's new by combining this way of transporting and then this data that the technology provides. So here's the thing, right? In supply chain, the later you uncover the problem, the more troublesome and expensive it gets. And this is especially true with sensitive goods. And sensitive goods and perishable goods, it can leave the production in a perfect state. And they can end up being spoiled on the way, perhaps by a third-party logistics partner. And when it reaches your client, it's not at the quality that you prefer as a producing company. Now here you have a full overview. It's not a black box anymore. You know what has happened to the goods on the way. And this is sort of what we're seeing a changing in this market for using technology IoT in the ways of transportation. So at Vasillion, what we're doing in this case, we are attaching a tracker for the location, temperature, light, and shock and tilt to the goods, and we can monitor it on a pallet or load level. And either use this information on a real-time condition monitoring, so conditioning of the goods that you are shipping, or you can add it as intelligence into existing data, for example, ERP or TMS, or of course you can do both. So just to let me summarize, in this case, IoT is a source of real-time information from a critical physical asset.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much for detailing that a bit more. And you're talking about this sort of broadening use case, and a lot of what's been in the news is around COP26, and it's been making all these headlines, and they're trying to accelerate that action towards climate change. And part of that action is looking at different ways that we as people and technology can help in that goal. So how is cold chain monitoring helping organizations really push their environmental goals?
So absolutely, COP26 was very interesting. We all have a stake in the environment, but also looking from an angle of a technology provider or someone who works in technology. It's been very interesting because there's been a lot of talk about Industry 4.0. And IoT, as the term Internet of Things, is part of Industry 4.0. So it has been high on the agenda. In this case, when we're talking about supply chain and IoT, by implementing this, it can help operations optimize. It can give you insight into how they're handling their different goods. On top of the list, I would say is the reductions of products that are wasted. I mentioned earlier, by monitoring the condition of the products, you can get an insight into how it's been handled, and you can potentially prevent damage and spoiling of the more sensitive cargo. In the end, this can lead to eliminating the unnecessary waste. Another one is delivering of critical goods on time. So visibility can help equip the supply chain to avoid or mitigate crisis situations. You can get better response time, which means preventing waits of goods from damage and avoiding idle time. And of course, these can be costly for the company, but it can definitely be costly for the environment as well. One point I want to mention as well is route optimization. You want to save time, you want to save money, but you also want to save emission from the vehicle.
Absolutely. I think that's very interesting. You sometimes just think about, oh, okay, the goods itself, but actually the vehicle that the goods are on, saving fuel, making sure they get to point A and point B with minimal disruption, I think is really, really key.
Exactly. Another point, sorry.
No, please.
No, but another point I think is important to keep in mind is that technology is not the holy grail. Technology is just it's just a tool to help us reach the goal. You can't put all the effort on technology and hope that the world has been saved. It's a tool for us to achieve the goals we want to achieve, but it's nothing more than that.
So you're talking about that people perspective, and I think that's really important. So, cold chain solutions are there to help provide visibility and transparency, to be proactive. So data's great, but it's what you do with that data.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. As I said, technology cannot solve the issues and the trouble that we have in the world alone. We need people to proactively work with it. Data is a great source of information. If you can get data on a granular level, if you can get data in correlation to other data, if you can put context around the data, you can get a very, very good picture, real time or not real time. It depends on the use case, but having access to data and understanding the environment that data has been created in can give you potential, not solutions, but it can guide you in a way where you can optimize in order to achieve a goal. If that goal is lowering emission, then absolutely data from a vehicle can help you do that.
Absolutely right. Well, thanks, Anne. This has been really great information for businesses considering investing in these sorts of solutions and monitoring their critical assets. Just as a plug, the joint KORE and Sony IoT-enabled critical asset monitoring solution sends notifications about these anomaly events as they happen, such as temperature changes, route deviations, shock, tilt, all the things that Anne has been talking about. Is that data that's required for process optimization with actionable analytics. This supply chain optimization results in not only improving sustainability, but reducing costs associated with loss and waste and improving ROI. So I want to thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much
for joining us on today's Quickfire interview. And for those who watch this interview, thank you very much. For more information, go to korewireless.com.